believe everyone should have access to housing because housing is a human right.
Welcome back to Housing Hassles. We started this podcast with the question of, do young people really stand a chance of moving out without financial stress? And the reality that we might be at home until we're 30. Since then, we've explored the realities of housing in one of Canada's most expensive cities, Toronto, from co-living to renting. And now, my name is Elissa Fuoco, a second-year student in the journalism program. I'll be your host for this week, and today we have Walied Khogali Ali, a community organizer and neighborhood advocate in Toronto Centre. This week, we're talking all about the past, present, and future of housing. Welcome, Walied. It's a pleasure to meet you.
Thank you, my friend. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate this opportunity.
What was the housing market when you first arrived to Canada?
Well, I moved to Regent Park in 2005, but I'll tell you this story. I think you're going to resonate with this. And it also exposes the challenges we're dealing with today, which is the financialization of housing or the commodification of housing. So in 2011, while I was working at U of T, I made some money. I had saved up a bit of money, and my mom walked in to the house excited with a package. And she's like, Walied, go put your name down on this home ownership application. And all I needed to do was put a $5,000 down payment, pay about $680 a month, and commit to living in my community for 20 years. And I will have home ownership of a 3-bedroomed townhouse.
And this package just came?
This was a package that was put together by the developer Daniels in collaboration with Toronto Community Housing, funded by the City of Toronto. It was put together because many residents did not want to be displaced from their neighborhood. And home ownership is a critically important way for making sure people live in their neighborhood in the long term. So this program, otherwise known as rent to own, was introduced back then. We say that, my faith, that paradise lies at the feet of your mother. So you have to listen to your parents. They want the best for you. And I was didn't listen to my mom. I listened to my dad, which was a big mistake when I think about it, because that house that I could have purchased increased in value from $330,000 to over $1 million in a span of 5 years. And you will say that's impressive, that's amazing, but at what cost? What I've learned from that experience is, who do we build housing for? Who has access to these home ownership opportunities?
And since then, what changes in the pricing and housing trends have you noticed since that time?
Well, it peaked. Housing and affordability peaked during the pandemic. And we're now seeing that the market is correcting slowly. We're seeing a drop in value of condominiums across the GTA, in fact, across the country. We're seeing a correction in homes as well. We know rent prices are going to go down, and that's because people do not want to pay a couple of $1,000s for shoe-size condo, right? Many people have sacrificed, their pursuit to start a family. They've been waiting to settle down, and now they're living with their parents or with relatives, or many of them are living in one single unit just to save money.
Yeah, I feel like that's just the kind of the norm now. People can't afford getting a place of their own, so they're either with close friends, family, or relatives. There's that much. It's kind of out of a lot of people's hands.
Yeah, and the data speaks to that. And you know what? If you want a province or a city that promotes families, we need to support youth, not just access good jobs, but access that human right, which is housing. There's no housing dedicated for youth or young people who are wanting to move out of their parents' homes and start a family. There's no incentives for that.
What advice would you give someone who's renting for the first time?
Renting for the first time. Well, if there's one thing I want folks to remember, is your network is your net worth. And I'll say that again. Your network is your net worth. If you are trying to rent for the first time, you need a surety sometimes, right? You need someone to refer you as a tenant that will be in good standing. So having a good network that can support your application will be very helpful. You have to have your first and last month. There are important services that you need to be aware of. For example, the rent bank, right? So if you're, having precarious employment, we don't have a full-time job and you're working sometime, for certain months and then offer a month or two. It's not just the employment insurance that you could tap into, but the rent bank and these other important supports that you could access.
Yeah.
But I think it's really important to remember that you are not on your own, my friends.
Yeah.
You're part of a community, right? Like there are people out there that really deeply care for each one of you. And you need to tap into your community. It will help you understand what are the other additional resources that exist in the neighborhood that you might not be aware of.
What do you
It's
think
not
needs
enough.
to change?
It's not enough. I think what needs to change right now is we need to shift to what has always worked, which is the government being in the business of building housing. So through Build Canada, Build Toronto, those are important initiatives that are government not just funded but established, because we know the financialization or commodification of housing has failed this generation, has failed actually many generations, and have actually put our seniors who now think that their home is an investment tool. Well, it's not how it's supposed to be. Imagine if we all operated with that premise. That means housing will never be accessible in the long term, because we'll always want to profit from the valuation of housing. So I do not support any subsidies from the government to for-profit developers, because I think that's where the problem is. I think we need to invest in our communities and actually get into the business the government had always had, which is build housing, which is a basic, it's a human right, basically. And so I think that announcement is important. I think we need to increase supply. But my question is, who are we building housing for?
Yeah, and that's a big question. It's a meaningful one. I know that we're talking about housing is at an all-time low, all these horrible things going on with housing, but is there anything out there that gives you hope with the future of housing in Toronto? In other words, are we all destined to live in our parents' basement for the foreseeable future, or do you think?
I think we are on the brink, my friends, of some fundamental systemic changes in our society, and it can get worse.
Yeah,
it can get worse than what it is now. And I think we need to ensure that who we put into office, who we elect at City Council, at Queen's Park, in Ottawa, actually appreciates this crisis, and most importantly is committed to working with communities instead of subsidizing for-profit development. I think we are moving to a new era where we will respect housing as a human right. So let's make sure that we actually invest in people by investing in housing, and let's make sure that there's a pathway to home ownership as well.
Yeah, of course.
So that there's that security, right? People want security. If they're going to start a family, they want to know that they'll be able to live in that community for a long period of time.
Yeah, I completely agree with you.
I want to encourage all of you to get involved in your neighborhoods, get involved in the effort to secure funding for your neighborhood, and show up.
Yeah.
Go out and vote. And the other thing I just want to point to is I'm a youth advocate. I actually believe that, when you empower young people, you actually make it possible for transformational change to happen. Because young people are brilliant. I gotta say that. Young people are passionate and love their community. And young people actually really invested in the future. You know, they have a lot to lose when decisions are made that actually impact our communities in a negative way. I know everyone has a life. I hear it all the time, but it's critically important to get involved, because when you're not in those spaces, decisions are made about our future without your voice. So get involved. That's sort of like my core message is, whatever you do, please choose to get involved, or everything that we take for granted will slowly disappear or be eroded, because no one is there to defend those important programs, services, or initiatives that we deeply care about.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time to come meet with us. It was such a pleasure to meet you, and this has been an amazing chat.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
In this 3-part podcast, we have discovered alternative solutions to renting, got tips on how to rent and budget, and learned about larger solutions to impact change. Sitting with me now is the team of Housing Hassles.
Parker Noble.
Winter Dove.
Journey.
Welcome, guys. Now that this podcast is coming to an end, what do you guys think about all that we've talked about?
It really solidified how important having roommates is at our young age. It's a very important part of moving out for the first time in this big city.
100%.
I really like this last episode and the importance of having a community and reach out to them. I think that was interesting.
No, I completely agree with that.
I think Toronto should explore co-living more. I just don't think it's talked about enough, and I think that it could provide a really good solution to a lot of young people's issues with housing.
Yeah, even when Walied was talking about how there is a chance that renting could go down, I felt a little bit relieved that I won't be living in my parents' basement. So I'm just really happy about that. This was such a pleasure. Thank you all for listening to our podcast. My name is Elissa Fuoco, and this has been Housing Hassles. Make sure to follow us everywhere you get your podcast.